All right. Well, welcome to episode 3 of Bourbon Politics. This is our podcast. And tonight's podcast, we're calling it Kamala Rises. And our non-official sponsor tonight is Weller Antique 107. This is what we're drinking on the channel. So cheers. And why do we always have bourbon? Besides the show being Bourbon Politics, because when you're talking about politics, it's best to be under the influence. I'm kidding. With politics, yeah, sometimes a shot of whiskey actually helps you swallow it. So, Kamala Rises. Kamala Harris has risen from the ashes, and why I believe she could win in November. Oh, yeah. Fact, the country loves to hate Donald Trump. They really do. To the point of it being an obsession in the media. I mean, people are going nuts over this. The demonization, the fear, just everything about what Donald didn't do the first 4 years, he's going to do in the next 4. He's going to be a dictator. He's going to be a Hitler. You're going to lose your rights. Women are not going to be able to do this or that. Everyone's going back into the frickin' Stone Age, if you believe the hype. Another fun fact. Kamala Harris is the typical do-nothing VP. Think about all the VPs that really, you'd never really thought much about. Dan Quayle. That's a good example. I remember Dan Quayle. But they really are the do-nothing. They're given jobs and responsibilities that really nobody wants, and they're just kind of like a figurehead waiting for something to happen to the president, right? I mean, they are the backup. They are Plan B. Did you know that only 4 vice presidents, sitting vice presidents, have become president? Yeah. Only 4 have been elected. 8 were feeling the death of the president. So, only 4 have been elected to office after being vice president. 8, 8 fulfilled after the death of the president. First one, John Adams, 1796, was elected. He was a former vice president. Thomas Jefferson in 1800. Yeah, people don't realize that he was a vice president before he was a president. Martin Van Buren in 1836. And George H.W. Bush in 1988. Now, I'm probably old enough to know a few of these, but definitely I remember George H.W. Bush. Cheers to a great former president. So did you know that the 12th Amendment, ratified in 1804, changed the way we vote for vice president? Oh, yeah. It used to be kind of like winner and loser gets the 2 top spots. So if I was president, let's say a Democrat, and I was going against another guy, let's say a Republican, and the Republican lost, he still got to be vice president. Oh, yeah. 1 and 2 spots. The winner got to be president. The loser got to be vice president. They kind of shared power. They had to negotiate things. Yeah, it was probably quite contentious. I can imagine back in the late 1700s, without the media, it still was probably quite contentious. So we don't get to vote for vice president. That's a common thing since 1804. Like it or not, whether you voted for Joe Biden or not, Kamala came along with him. Joe bows out of being reelected. Kamala is normally, not by law, but normally the shoe-in. And sure enough, she got the support of the Democratic Party. And through their process, whether you like it or not, she is the official nominee to be president in the election this year, 2024. she is going to go against Donald Trump. Now, I kind of would have preferred Joe Biden going against Donald, even though Donald thinks that she's an easier win. I don't think she's an easier win at all. And if you see how the media has gotten behind her, because, I mean, the media was really starting to go against Joe because they knew, or thought that they knew, that he couldn't win against Donald. But here, a new fresh face comes along. We'll say fresh face because we really don't know much about Kamala, do we? Or any VP. And that's okay. That's really the way it's been meant to be for decades. So, I got a few questions to ask you, and I want you to be honest with yourself. So before you pull that voting handle in November, I have 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself. 1, am I voting against a candidate or for a candidate? An example, do I hate Donald Trump so much that I would vote for anyone with a heartbeat? There are people out there that have so much hatred for Donald Trump, they don't really care who it is. It could be a zombie, and they'd vote for them over Donald Trump. So you need to ask yourself that question. Am I voting for somebody or against somebody? Question number 2. Is their past, the candidate's past, truthfully being discussed, or is the media rewriting the past? And be honest with yourself. Are you getting a true version of what Donald Trump did prior to losing the election? And he did lose. I'm not one of those that thinks there's some kind of conspiracy here. I think some people got the vote that probably shouldn't have, or in normal circumstances wouldn't have, but that's a whole nother show. But Joe Biden did win the election, whether you like it or not. I mean, an example, Kamala was the most liberal senator, and that was not my saying so, that was other people saying so. She was the most liberal senator before she became vice president. But now she wasn't. Roll the tape. You're going to see things that she said as, basically a person running for president that she didn't say as VP. And, well, naturally, your job as VP is to support the president and the president's policy. Yes, you have a hand in deciding that. Yes, you have a hand in managing it. But still, you're number 2. Number 1 gets to say what the policies was. So she followed his policies. I don't blame her at all. But now, 3.5 years later, do we think that she doesn't still believe what she said when she was running for president? Does their past matter? What Kamala has said, what Donald has said, what Kamala has done, what Donald has done. You need to weigh those when you're making a decision who to pull that lever for. Question number 3, and I'm looking, we have an hourglass now, so I don't go over time. I'm looking at it going like, I need to speed this up. Question number 3, and probably the most important. Are you voting to change America or save America? Think about that. Progressives are always in change mode. They always want to improve. They always think something has to be improved, something has to be changed. There's always something that they can do better than the past administrations. It's just the way they think. A lot of conservatives, and I'm a conservative, I'll admit it, we have values that we think doesn't change over time. Certain things of right and wrong, certain things of being self-determination, that we hold to as being dear to our hearts and dear to our nature. So, if you're voting to change America, are you okay with taking away liberties that Americans have enjoyed for generations? Stripping away values and beliefs for the sake of progress? But when you're talking about people's rights to believe in certain institutions, whether it be marriage, faith, do you have the right to say, you don't get to think that way, you don't get to speak that way, and you better not let us know that you're that way, right? So if not, we're going to cancel you, we're going to fine you, we're going to jail you. Is it actually worth that to get that progress? Or is there a balance where you can say, we're going to allow a certain amount of progressive thought in this country because we want things, wrongs of the past, to be improved upon. We want to correct mistakes we've made, but it doesn't mean that we have to trash people, especially older people like myself, their values, their beliefs in favor of your beliefs or my beliefs. My beliefs, my opinions are just as important as yours and just as valued, and they shouldn't be thrown to the side just because of the sake of progressivism. So, I want you to think about those three questions. Am I voting against a candidate or for a candidate? Does the past truly matter what this candidate has done? And most importantly, are you voting to change America or save America? It could be both, right? So we thank you for coming along for another Bourbon Politics podcast, and we'll see you soon. And until then, cheers.